Considering the 2024 video did not perform as well as I had hoped, I'm doing this against my better judgment, but I guess I just can't kick the habit of finding really good songs from video games. These are my top 50 tracks that were released in 2025. Now, my taste in music is a subjective thing, so if you agree or disagree, that's fine, just do it respectfully in the comments or in the Discord. There's a link in the description. This list was initially recorded and revealed in front of a live Twitch audience, so if you want to know about future live content, you can drop a follow over there. And finally, here is your spoiler warning. Nothing is off limits for this list. There might be a final boss theme, there might be an end credits theme. Everything is there, so if you're sensitive to music spoilers, this is your chance to get out. I won't be talking about plot points in any great detail, so don't worry about those. But without further ado, let's just get straight into it. No fluff. I won't string you along any further. Many of the battle themes in Silksong are dominated by string instruments, which just fits thematically with all the silk being strung. The piece features a backing of tremolo strings which build tension much the same way as the score to a chase scene in a horror film. Yet this song exudes more determination than anything else, and that is owed to the stings and arpeggios that separate the main phrases of the song. After the main melody slowly creeps up the scale, these moments come back to pack a punch. It's the right blend of grace and intensity that could encapsulate the personality of Silksong all on its own. The key change in the second half is an extra bit of scintillation, appropriate for the higher stakes of the second phase. Hades excels at themes that seem to blend into the background while you focus on the action, but once you listen back to them, you can hear how they're fundamentally well constructed. Sightless Shepherd has an easygoing first half with a certain bardic quality, but through post-production we have a lovely mix of reverberation on the guitar strums with the game's recurring theremin. It's been a while since I last read the Odyssey, so I'd like to thank my friend Hero for reminding me of why including a flute in this portion of the song was an appropriate detail. During Phase 2, the percussion is more prominent, with even stronger impacts to complement the flow of battle. The ostinato played on the flute earlier is taken over by a harsher synth, turning it into a more imposing melody. Plus, we get the sax solo from Sam Gendel, who makes their instruments screech in the most evocative ways. Some might say that the sounds mirror the very farm animals Polyphemus is set to care for. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 had my favorite soundtrack of the year, so you should expect to see it a few more times on this list. Anyone who has dug into the details of the soundtrack knows that it plays a critical role in the game's storytelling, particularly the lyrical themes. But I'll use this song as an example of how the instrumentals can do much the same. The battle theme from the Ancient Sanctuary starts out sounding like the strings will swell into a serene track, but then the backbeat kicks in and it transforms it into a motivational anthem. Eventually, the main instrument becomes a synth that I can only compare to a roboticized chipping and chattering of woodland critters. My headcanon is that this is just how the Jestrels sound as they mill about the area. They wait to ambush intruders with a welcome party headed by one of their Sakapate weapons. We take a break for some piano arpeggios, followed by the sounds akin to a steam-powered machine releasing a burst from its exhaust. It's as if the Jestrels partied too hard and needed to stop and catch their breath, and we just heard the intense panting before they got their second wind. After the beat attempts a return, it's joined by hand clapping, as though a crowd of onlookers is encouraging the Jestrel fighters to keep going until the party is done. I came back to this track as a good source of background noise many times throughout the year, as it strikes a hard balance between fun energy and calm reflection. everybody, Tee Lopes is back on this list to no one's surprise. This time, he's brought a high-tempo beat to accompany the action-packed thrill of a shinobi showdown. The main melody starts out low, but the choice of brass instruments lends itself well to evoke thoughts of pursuing justice on the battlefield. In this game, Joe Musashi has a challenging road ahead of him, and each boss fight is but one part of the larger war. Every so often, we hear interruptions of a dubstep variety. These drops in the music are a nice bit of emphasis, not only grabbing the listener's attention, but also conveying the potentially overwhelming nature of the fight. In these moments, it is as though the music struggles against itself. But the main draw of this song is its electric guitar section. The high notes in particular just hit the pleasure center of my brain. It's enough to make me wish I could be dancing along instead of carefully engaging the enemy. But alas, like Mr. Musashi, we all need to make sacrifices. Many of the comments I made about tension in Widow could also apply to this song, but the bass line in Strive is much more minimal, especially starting out. While the main melody in Widow had a slower creep, the melody in Strive is quicker, nimbler, more graceful. While the key change in Widow served to raise the stakes and tension further, the key change in Strive gives it a more confident and triumphant tone. Whereas Widow is the theme of its boss, Strive is a theme more suited to Hornet herself. The triplets comprising the song dance around much like a seasoned player eventually will against the myriad threats of the game world. The ending to this song is also immaculate, with the final notes played by the string ensemble sending chills down my spine every time I hear it. This is the first, but far from the only entry we'll see from Wanderstop, one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. While I never got into Minecraft or its music, I've started to see what many people enjoy about the work of C418. In a mix of calming and unsettling, their specialization in background ambience lends itself perfectly to the day-to-day work you perform in Wanderstop. But Farewell is all about build and release. The plodding piano chords build into a droning bass line, but it's time to release and take in the sounds of nature. The main Wanderstop motif starts as a whispery vocal phrase and builds into a swell of orchestral strings. But the final string section takes that motif and, in my favorite moment of the song, finally releases it into a descending sequence of notes. All throughout the game, troubling thoughts and creeping anxieties build within you. But it's time to release. It's the end of an emotional journey, but those emotions are not so neatly resolved, and like the stirring waters, may linger a little while. At first, the song allows you to soak in the sound of the pipe organ, which fits with the necronomic nature of the area. The beat gallops along, much like you'd expect from a horse riding sequence in an old western. There are many possible arguments as to why that choice also ties into the area thematically, such as the nature of this area's boss, or the openness of the area itself. Malinois is essentially on a rodeo to wrangle up all types of foes. I'm also a sucker for any time a song can make good use of the sound produced when a guitar player slides along the string to reposition their fingers. In the second half of the song, for the main fight, the percussion really picks up. The additional triplets thrown into the existing beat make it a real headbanger of a track. In fact, since so many of the notes of the main melody are sustained for a good while, the drum and electric guitar really become the main characters of this song. It's impressive just how closely the drummer matches the guitarist, giving extra weight to every note. It's too bad the drummer can't fight the boss on my behalf, because the number of hits they deliver and the speed at which they come means that the guardian of this area would not stand a chance. If you had asked me whether it was a smart idea to use the word zebra as a piece of percussion, I would have had my doubts. Maybe I wouldn't have written it off completely, as I am rather fond of a song from Fantasy Life that uses a rubber duck in its repertoire, but it still sounds like an off-putting idea on paper. Yet here we are in the timeline where Donkey Kong Bonanza exists and makes it work. The stress on the first syllable in zebra is really what makes it possible, similar to most 4/4 beats from dance tracks. With the instrumentation, it sounds like the ARMS team found work composing for Donkey Kong Bonanza, but I double-checked and it's not exactly the same people. But between the whistles and the nonsense lyrics, I can definitely imagine that. The castanets elevate this song to a whole new layer. Players will find plenty of reasons to upgrade their Bonanza transformation duration, but giving themselves more time to shimmy along to the samba is definitely chief among them. Mario Kart World had too many great rearrangements to choose from, but a few ultimately made this list. Now, I have no attachment to Mario Kart 7, having actually skipped the handheld Mario Kart entries, so I wasn't expecting to like this rendition of its Rainbow Road theme as much as I do. The strings do so much to elevate the song, from a standard rock opera to something more grandiose, but the star of the show is still the main electric guitar. My favorite remixes in Mario Kart World were the ones that added their own unique sections to set them apart from the originals. This one has the guitar solo that carries the second half of the song. Going into the final chorus, we hear an all too brief amount of piano chords used to accent the piece in a moment reminiscent of ABBA's discography. I had a lot of exposure to them as a kid thanks to my dad's limited taste in music, but I never disliked them for what that's worth. As this is one of the many tracks that can appear in Free Roam, I don't think I've actually heard it in-game myself yet, and only encountered it during the research for this countdown. But I can see it serving as one of the best songs in the game for cruising the coastline at night. An easy groove with the right amount of emotional intensity to help you reflect on fond memories while you soak in all the colors of the skyline. Sometimes the most difficult parts of the game give you the best chance to take in the music. You take a few seconds to collect yourself between attempts, and suddenly you realize there's been art playing in the background all the while. I consider this one of the stronger tracks in Windswept, as listening back to it, away from the potential frustration a platformer can bring, you can hear how it goes through distinct movements. In the first 30 seconds, the pluck synth arpeggios and brass give a sense of grandeur, as our characters are ready to brave another adventure. A flute echoes the main melody to provide a dose of wistfulness and mirrors the winds that blow through the clifflands. In the second portion of the song, much of the backing takes a break to allow that flute to shine through. It feels a bit more trepidatious. After all, the higher you climb in this vertically focused level, the more you risk falling down. In the final act, the bass is at its most prominent. The tension builds into a final moment of triumph before the song loops back on itself. It's the right balance of adventurous and intimidating to suit a game like Windswept, a cute game with animal characters on the outside and a rigorous platforming challenge on the inside. Every rhythm game could use a good amount of slap bass. The groove that's built into this track comes from its use of rise and fall. There are several moments where the song drops sharply through a quick series of notes, creating a sliding effect. The guitar solo during the body of the song is a highlight, but apart from that, I find myself at a lack of words to describe what this song does right. Sure, I could list off more instruments that give the track its disco vibe, but the song's appearance on the list is owed simply to the fact that it is charged with the type of energy that makes me want to get up and dance. I believe this is commonly referred to as a bop. The melody brings with it the joy of being alive and present in the moment. One just wants to meditate with the serotonin, while trying to master the patterns that this track will throw at you in the main game. As that previous song suggested, I largely prefer the upbeat tracks in video games. Sure, some of the softer offerings will grab my attention, some emotional songs will captivate me to no end, but I like to dance. So while making this list, as much as I respected the shamisen offerings in Ghost of Yotei for what they were, this song was a big reason that they didn't make the cut. I mean, here, I get the shamisen being used in much the same percussive manner, but it's accompanied by rock instruments to create an adrenaline-inducing battle theme. Even then, my favorite moments in the song are the ones where the guitars take a back seat, letting those traditional Japanese instruments take the lead. The shamisen goes wild, and the strings and flute and taiko drum that come in just before the song loops around are a perfect touch. The song is much like the battle itself. It plays early in the game as the main conflict makes itself known. Joe Musashi finds himself in a battle against enemy forces, sure, but the game also centers around a quest for vengeance. Revenge is not a new motive in fiction by far, but this isn't a critique of the narrative. One could say part of Joe's struggle is between giving himself over to his rage or upholding the honor of his clan. As such, I find it fitting that the electric guitars and other instruments essentially battle it out for control of the song. It's a relentless back and forth. It's coming. Don't even bother looking behind you. You know it's there. It doesn't matter that you can't see it. It's about to reach you. Any moment, it will grab and devour you whole. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about? Well, how can that be? After all, it was lurking inside you, waiting to come out. So keep running, because you know it'll find its way back to you. Oh, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You feel a twinge of hope, like the scales are shifting to something more hopeful. If you just keep running, you know you'll outrun yourself. You'll make it out and find the new person you're hoping to be. Well, guess what? That light isn't the end. It is not a new beginning. It is a flash, back to exactly where you started. There is no escaping what lives inside you. You can run all you want. But when you're ready to face it and do the work, it will find you.
Don't ever let yourself become tense. Now let's type some more on the home row key. Ready?
You must be tense after that last one, so just take the song's advice. I'd have to do more research, but I feel like this is a contender for best tutorial song of all time. Unbeatable's soundtrack as a whole is urban, grunge, and organic. The production on many songs in the soundtrack is imperfect by design. There is an unmistakable human quality to the distortion that emerges from playing unedited. Proper Rhythm is one of the more tightly produced songs on the soundtrack though, but with good reason. I can't imagine something more grunge than sampling a typing tutorial meant to help people perform neatly and properly, and reworking it with a powerful bass line into a song that teaches the mechanics of a game where you are anything but neat and proper. While the player and the characters needn't be perfect, the truth of the matter is that this song does have a proper rhythm to it. I love how the drums fill out over time, especially with little vocal touches, which you can hear most prominently in the last few seconds of the song. So, just relax, let the funk take over, and feel your way to the proper rhythm. You too can get there organically. Either the oxygen is getting low from climbing up this area, or this song is taking my breath away. The musical phrases in this piece never quite seem to resolve, always reaching for more. The acoustic guitar creaks as the wooden platforms in the area would be expected to. Together with ethereal vocals, the song creates a balance of somberness and tranquility. And that right there is the dual nature of isolation. Alone, you can reflect on your thoughts and the whole state of being. But isolated, you also run the risk of drowning deeper in the darkness. At least we have music like this to help us climb our way out of it. Kirby Air Riders is a fast-paced game. Sakurai's team even turned up the speed compared to the original GameCube release, and some songs in the soundtrack followed suit. Waveflow Waters is a standout track for its focus on the roaring waves of electric guitar that power the player through. It's almost like surf guitar, but elevated to a fiendish rock and roll. Every so often, the guitar stops and the piano chimes in with a quick ragtime transition. Some sound waves come crashing to shore, but others just make little ripples. But together, they form the natural ebb and flow of this musical piece. The song does lose some points for how short it is, but in the context of the game, it is as long as it needs to be for those air ride races.
My name is Giraffe. I went to a school so I could learn.
2025 was a great year to be a fan of Rebecca Sugar's music. On top of their new album, they played the role of Giraffe in To a T. This song is the entire reason I became interested in that game in the first place, as it accompanied the debut trailer. The full game is divided into episodes, structured like an anime miniseries. Giraffe's song ends up serving as the end credits theme to each episode. You have the option to skip over it, but naturally, I never dreamt of doing such a thing. Rebecca may not have been the lyricist this time around, but Keita Takahashi and Sam Bird managed to capture the exact sort of lyrics they would perform in their own songs. Those lyrics hone in on the specifics of Giraffe's day-to-day operations, teaching us so much about their character while also conveying what the character loves about cooking with strong sensory descriptors. Rebecca's gentle singer-songwriter voice makes a great fit for the character, and the bossa nova instrumentation of the song. Towards the end of each episode's closing sequence, the characters line dance to the final verse, and if you haven't tried following along with that yet, I'd say you owe yourself the pleasure. While I may not always pick the slower songs, there's always some that make me bow down before their majesty. I am of the rare breed who played to the credits of Hades 2 without having finished the original Hades game. So leave it to the YouTube comments to let me know that the music in this area incorporates several songs from the first game. While I may not be able to appreciate the changes made to those songs, much like Hades 2 itself, I would say the track stands on its own. I remember my first time hearing the beauteous tones of the orchestra as I made my ascent. The barren wasteland is appropriately accompanied by a few solo instruments at first, occasionally interrupted by booming percussion that carries across the expansive space. After about 1 minute of build-up, we hear my favorite moment in the song, where the string section plays its first harmony. The strings continue, and the woodwinds provide some mysterious warbling. Because for as grand as the Mountain of the Gods ought to be, the fact is that in the context of the game, it's been ravaged by a terrifying enemy force. The song has just as much eerie mystique as it does majestic beauty. The final moments of this track, where the orchestra gets to go all out, are enough to shake anyone to their core. It's honestly surprising that Malinois had to step in at all, because the music has more than enough power to vanquish any foe. If you had me predict the lead instrument for the new Mario Kart game before it was announced, I'm not sure I would have guessed harmonica. But then, I would have heard the main theme to Mario Kart World and wondered what was wrong with my past self, because it just fits. Especially how it plays into the call and response nature of the song. First, it swaps back and forth with an electric guitar. But after a brief cameo from the long-running Super Mario Kart theme, the guitar has its solo. Then, the harmonica and electric guitar unite for a bit before the harmonica gets its own solo. Even in this second half, it was just one long call and response. Not to say the rest of the band doesn't do its part. I love that the beat goes into double time at the end, like each track theme typically would on the final lap. And the 9 stings played by the whole ensemble before that harmonica solo for the 9th mainline Mario Kart game pack a punch of energy straight to the face. It hurts, but it hurts so good. I find it very strange that I like this song so much. Some of the notes are reminiscent of the feedback you'd get from misusing a microphone. There is so much distortion on the guitars. And somehow, that combination works just fine. I suppose that's just the nature of Metroid Prime music. It often goes in weird directions, but somehow coalesces into what I can only describe as a vibe. I think the old Western-style bass line is pulling a lot of work with this one. It keeps the rhythm moving and the feeling of adventure alive. There are some impeccable guitar solos, but it feels like they're buried underneath a mountain of noise from the synth instruments. Yet, like I said, I like it. Maybe it works specifically because it's a driving theme. You might be more focused on your journey through Soul Desert and the enemies that pop up during said journey. So, while the guitar playing takes more of a backseat to the noise, just enough of it pops out. The noise is arguably reminiscent of the bike's mechanisms, like the purr of an engine that never quite leaves your side as you're driving along. And unlike Mario Kart World's main theme, the viola theme will continue to loop for as long as you're riding. Ultimately, I find it works best as background music. I can listen to this one for quite a while, while simultaneously never losing interest and never having it distract me from other tasks. And I think that's worth something. As weird as this song may be. Earlier, I talked about the credits to each episode of To a T, but now we talked about the introduction, which is expanded for the end credits of the full game. The lyrics go a long way to this song's appearance on the list. There is so much wordplay in between the affirmations that you are the perfect shape. You get quickly introduced to the main premise of the game. You want to be able to do day-to-day things the same as anyone else, but you're stuck as a T-shape and you've never known why. There are things you like about yourself, but despite the reaffirmations of the chorus, you still have some doubts. I love how emphatically the chorus gets into their role in this song. Sometimes I still find myself laughing at their wholehearted ruff 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 imitation of the main character's dog. Plus, the little interjections of Japanese to transition into parts of the melody hit just right. In the second half of the song, appearing only during the end credits, the second verse calls back to events from the game and inverts many of the phrases from the first verse, bringing us full circle. If there was one change I would make to the lyrics, it would be that near the end, ice cream, noodles, and sandwiches are referenced. But while ice cream and sandwiches are the subjects of mini-games, noodles are never seen. So I do think it would just be a little more cohesive if either there was a noodle minigame or the lyric was changed to popcorn, which did have a minigame. But hearing everything fits to a T at the very end was quite satisfying. I mean, they did the title drop. The instrumentation is a relatively simple synth chord progression with a beat, but the vocalists fill out the soundscape nicely. Plus, the motif at the end of each section is a fun part to whistle along with, meaning the song is still plenty catchy, if not as robust. The Zebra fans are probably prepared to stampede me for this decision, but I ultimately had to weigh the Bonanza transformation songs in order to make this a proper list, and that meant deciding which one was my favorite. Ostrich takes the trophy from me in part because I feel the song is the most fleshed out of the bunch. This song manages to evoke comic book superhero jingles with its brass section and Surfing Safari with its guitar. It seems a fitting combination for a transformation that makes you shout, "Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's an ape, it's Donkey Kong," before you proceed to surf along the wind currents. Pauline freestyles in a few of the Bonanza transformation songs, but I feel her inflections are the most on point with the rap breakdown in the Ostrich theme. Plus, she gets to bring out her inner NSYNC with that "bye bye bye." Now, I wanna see you out that door to go tell more people about ostrich supremacy. Shake a tail feather and get. This is my personal favorite track in the newest Necrodancer game, both from a composition standpoint and from a gameplay perspective. A song from a rhythm game is so much more likely to stick with you if the game makes it fun to play along with. This song has a few key moments where I will never be able to separate it from the game context, and I mean that with nothing but praise. For one, during the main chorus, the drums take a 3-beat pause before coming back on the 4th beat of the measure. That 4th beat lines up with one of the inputs for this track, and playing with that silence greatly increases the satisfaction of nailing the command in-game. The other bit of genius is how this track can introduce you to Triplet. They're utilized in so much of the main guitar riff that you'll find yourself learning about the armadillo enemies, which you hit on certain parts of the triplets, naturally. As for the composition, the back and forth between the electric guitars and the music box really lets you feel the might of the guitars through contrast. With each phrase, the melody reaches for the same note repeatedly before falling back down. But as the melody progresses, the only notes it can reach get even lower. It creates the sensation of sinking deeper, succumbing to the power that the rest of the song brings with it. One particular touch I can enjoy on a closer listen is the use of piano to play the bass tones during the bridge. It adds a layer of dark undertones that can't be matched. So with all that said, bow before the matriarch. Bow your head, repeatedly, to the rhythm. It's called headbanging. Do it, or suffer an eternity of sorrow knowing this song is not in your life. This was the immediate standout track when I played Ball Pit, and it's certainly one of the most danceable desert tracks I've heard in a video game. Of course, the choice in instruments is enough to make the song fit the desert atmosphere, but there are additional aspects of the song that go the extra mile. In the fourth measure of the main melody, the note inches higher in pitch, but doubles back a note after each triplet. The slight slithering along the scale brings to mind the image of a snake rising from a charmer's pot. Of course, I imagine this is completely intentional, with the serpent waiting at the end of the stage. The hypnotic qualities also extend to the breathiness of the flute. I can just picture air snaking its way between adjacent holes in the instrument. The song then enters a more ambient state, with an increased presence from the bass. This ensures that the main melody doesn't stick around long enough to become irritating from repetition. If you listen to the full song, you are treated to a solid sitar solo at the end, and the culmination of all the instrumental parts into a full-force loop. Here's a song to really get the adrenaline pumping. Much of this is owed to the repeated bass tones of the opening staccato and the guitar riff that comes at the end of each phrase. Apart from that, I really don't have much else to say about this song. It really is the twinkly synth and the repeated guitar riff that made me put it this high on the list. The song does change things up midway through, undergoing an interesting chord progression that incorporates a diminished fifth chord. Considering that at this point in the game you are in the midst of enemy territory, I think it's a good choice to give some sense of tension. But that guitar riff is not far away, because ultimately, you are a ninja master, and you've totally got this. It might take dozens of tries and it might cost you your life each time, but damn it, you will show them what a master ninja can do. Taking one of the most memorable themes from Kirby and the Forgotten Land and jazzing it up with interspersions of the Star-Crossed World theme is a startlingly good combination. The bells ring along to the waltz tempo, while sweeping motions across the harp, piano, and string ensemble help to give the sense that Kirby is gliding across the ice. In the end, the song jumps between a grand full orchestra and subdued acoustic solo. I can imagine a robust ballet performance to accompany this song, to the point that I think it would be as iconic as anything from the Nutcracker. Or better yet, a full-on Kirby on Ice show. Get on that, Nintendo. It could serve as an attraction in Super Nintendo World. In the meantime, I will just keep enjoying one of the best winter tracks of the year. I couldn't tell you why a fish market of all places needed to have the most emotional track in Shinobi Art of Vengeance. It almost feels like something that should be reserved for an anime cutscene near the end of the game. I love when strings and electric guitars can come together to create a powerful force of music. This is, of course, the version that plays when you enter battle in this area, so we also get the driving beats of the drums. The choice in percussion during the dubstep breakdown gives the song an aquatic atmosphere, particularly during the drop. The song is ultimately on this list for its main melody, which gives a sense that Joe Musashi is making one last endeavor to fight for his clan. Last year, I talked about how shop themes are often whimsical, and how Stellar Blade took a different approach to encapsulate that same feeling with its own shop theme. But this year, I'm instead asking, does this count as the best shop theme of the year? It plays when you choose to fight a shopkeeper, but it's your goal to make them pay. Elise Dupont-Percier, does an incredible job with the vocals and the Claire Obscure OST as a whole, but I especially love her work in this track. It's got a ghostly presence between the softness of her delivery and the high notes that she manages to hit. Then the Claire Obscure motif is played by the brass section before the epic guitar solo that probably didn't have any right to be in this song. During the solo, the vocals switch to short utterances, resembling a quick laugh. If you're fighting with the merchant and got that far into the song, one might consider it a stand-in for the merchant laughing at how pathetic you are in combat. Or perhaps that guitar solo hits right as you've got the merchant where you want them, in which case that laughter is you taking pleasure in their impending defeat. But truly, the piece of this song that keeps the whole experience cohesive and drew me in right away is the piano ostinato paired with the expert drumming. So while I wouldn't call this track whimsical in the same way as other shop themes, I would still spend plenty of time listening to it.
Dim, dam, dadilam, vacarme, s'en va dans l'oubli éternel.
I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year. If I start singing your town theme in my day-to-day life, it will be on the list. The theme starts out in a simpler, more elegant state of being. Just some pizzicato strings, acoustic guitar, and the main vocalist. It's a soft and intimate song for the hometown of our main characters. By the end though, the full chorus joins in, giving the city a sense of grandeur for the hustle and bustle taking place during the game's opening. It's not a particularly joyful theme, but it's also not a particularly joyful time for the town of Lumiere. Since this is one of the earliest locations in the game, it's one of the first songs in the soundtrack with lyrics directly referencing the name of the game. Though to be fair, I don't actually know which came first, the songs with lyrics that say Claire Obscure, or the game being called Claire Obscure. Regardless, it makes the game's music all the more iconic, and easier to remember the lyrics. Though a much earlier example of a game incorporating its title into its soundtrack lyrics is the Katamari series. That doesn't happen in this particular song, but I really like the way that this one sounds. In another similarity to the previous track, the vocal delivery is gentle. The singer never really belts out, but this gives the instrumental room to fill in at key moments, such as the part where the song goes boom boom boom. In the second verse, the finger snaps add to that laid-back vibe. The myriad synths each play their role in filling out the soundscape, so for as easygoing as the song sounds, it still has the energy you'd expect from a high-paced round of Katamari. In my opinion, it joins Lonely Rolling Star in the upper echelons of Katamari music. It pops with pizzazz, twinkles like the cosmos, and bowls me over like a Katamari. Windswept takes inspiration from the Donkey Kong Country series, including the usage of bonus challenge rooms. I considered Bonus Bop for this list for its ragtime style, at least up until I listened to the end credits theme, which really just expands on that original song. The second loop of the Bonus Bop song changes the key of the song and puts the main riff into more of a background role, while the flute and xylophone get a chance to shine. Maybe it's because I grew up on too many cartoons, but I have to wonder if the xylophone was chosen with the image of the turtle shell being used as the keys in mind. In addition to the Bonus Bop melody, the end credits takes us through a second act with sounds resembling the raging winds. It slows down to a gentle breeze, but with the use of trills, we're taken on a tornado ride back to the start of the loop. What are the odds that I end up putting two end credits themes back to back? Dear me, I was edged out slightly over the other one for being a longer song with lyrics. After going through the whole game hearing softer piano tracks, hearing a full band brought in for the end credits made for an especially large impact. And believe me, I considered a good number of those piano tracks for this list. But there were so many standout songs from other games that I just enjoyed more. Strange Journey is a fairly straightforward ballad, but not every song needs to reinvent the wheel. You'll get your piano-centered first verse, the beat coming in on the first chorus, the beat still being present but taking a back seat during the second verse. Then you've got a bridge where the chord progression changes directions to create a final build, and a final chorus that starts with the stripped-down instrumental before all the instruments come back in for the big finish. It's a tried-and-true formula, but I enjoyed Itsuka's vocal delivery well enough, especially during the bridge. The lyrics are the main draw of this song for me, as they help to recontextualize the events of the game. During the game, you witness these events wordlessly. There's something symbolic about the fact that our protagonist is unable to express these words until the very end, but I would leave you to check out the game for yourself to see what I mean. You usually expect a high-octane electronic track to serve as the back-end to your futuristic racer, but you don't usually expect that to get infused with flute and shamisen. The song is smart to hold back the pulsing synths until the flute reaches a sustained note, so that the shorter percussive breaths don't get drowned out. But it doesn't take too long before the electric guitar steals the flute's role. There's a wonderful rise and fall in the second half of the song, which culminates with the shift into low pass. The combination of bass and computerized arpeggios is entrancing. The song could honestly have just looped straight from that point and still have been good, but there's an additional bridge that transitions back to the flute section of the song. The use of the crash cymbals in the bridge always gets me amped up, and the final harmony between the electric guitar and the flute as the loop begins anew ensures that I've got enough boost energy to cross the finish line. Seriously, how many end credit songs did I put on the list this year? It's gotta be some sort of record. So what makes this one so special compared to the others? For one thing, the track is bookended by sounds played in reverse, which makes for a thematically appropriate form of percussion. I talked about the song's waltz tempo as its melody is also featured in Twinkling Skating Part from earlier on the list. While this song could easily have been reworked into a lullaby if it had taken a different direction, the singer, in-game character Nashelle, played by Sammy, brings out the full force of their vocals. In fact, I originally had this song ranked lower, closer to where I ranked Twinkling Skating Rink, but I kept choking up every time they belted out that final high note. And with that kind of reaction, I knew I had to move it into the top 20. Not to mention the middle of the song, where following the guitar solo, their voice seems to become corrupted and operatic at the same time. For the instrumentation, the chord progression, which incorporates a flattened 7th chord, is doing most of the work for this song. But I do also have to shout out the drummer, without whom this song would not have the energy to match the vocalist's talents. And we've reached my favorite Mario Kart World remix. Look, I'm sure we could have expected more of them on this list. In a different timeline, this whole list could have been just tracks from Mario Kart World, because there are so many good ones. And while I have 2 of the remixes on my list, someone else could easily find 2 different remixes in the game that they would have preferred to see here. It really goes to show just how much love and effort were put into doing each remix justice. But the way I ranked this list, none of the other remixes quite matched what other games were putting out when I directly compared them. Besides, I do like to give originality a little more weight. As for this specific song, they made a classic from the Super Nintendo era, Sparkle. There are actually quite a few songs in Mario Kart World that utilize a salsa-styled piano chord progression, but I feel this one uses it the best. After going through the cover of the original song, this rendition enters 200cc mode, and both the saxophonist and pianist must frantically be moving their fingers to hit every note that comes out. It becomes one giant dance session before bookending with the original melody. And all throughout, there's an occasional synth chord that perfectly matches the vibe. You can hear it best at the very end of the song. When I heard Fury Green in trailers for Prime 4, it sounded so much like Phendrana Drifts from the first game in the series that I actually had a theory this jungle would be a reimagined Phendrana. Perhaps affected by major climate change in the years since Samus's journey on Talon 4. But in the end, it just ended up being a return to form with the same instrumentation. A bright tone piano, a choir made to sound alien in post-production, and the signature sci-fi synths that come with the Metroid Prime territory. As the player explores Fury Green, they'll encounter the holy sites of the Lemorne. And this leads me to how Fury Green's music still manages to carve out an identity for itself, despite the easy comparison. Unlike Phendrana, Fury Green's song never really picks up with the percussion, and most of the bass is handled by additional vocalists. In fact, with Fury Green, it's more like the instrumentation comes and goes at the whims of the choir. This distinction, along with some bells included near the end of the song, helped to establish Fury Green as a holy site through the association between churches and choirs. But there are some moments where the choir allows the piano to fly solo, and these may be my completely biased favorite moments. It flutters towards the sky, much like the memories of the Lemorne grown into the great tree. It may be debatable whether people prefer this to Phendrana Drifts, but I do think people will agree that both are in the all-time great songs of the Metroid franchise. Sometimes, when you're ranking songs for an end-of-the-year list, you'll know from the first time you hear a song that it will make it on your list somewhere. So as I returned to Sea of Stars to play the Throes of the Watchmaker DLC and entered the Rail Forest area, I knew. And of course, since I've also written a song for piano centered on the idea of trains, I am extra biased on this pick. The ragtime piano arpeggios make this song a great tonal match for the circus theme of the DLC campaign, while the bass note and percussion help to bring the chugging trains to life. Of course, the actual train whistle sound effect helps on that front too. But the way that that same train whistle transitions so smoothly into the synth chords that back the track is a pure act of genius. I also love it whenever layers to a song's composition take on multiple roles. Those same arpeggios that dominate the main melody at the beginning fade into the background and switch to synths, so the progression continues while the melody switches to a new phrase. It has just the right balance of jauntiness and dauntlessness to help you set off in the first major area of this new adventure. And did I mention it has piano? I like piano. So I learned fairly recently that some people I know are not huge on electro swing, so to them, I apologize that this song is on the list. But also, I take back my apology, and you're all wrong, and this song is amazing. I have a feeling it's trying to elicit a generational mix of 2010s pop and the Roaring 20s, as this song to me falls somewhere in between Spider Dance from Undertale And A Little Party Never Killed Nobody from the 2013 movie adaptation of The Great Gatsby, and I'm willing to bet nobody expected that reference. Jacinthe herself is focused on opulence and elegance, but she's also technologically inclined. Based strictly on her character, Electro Swing was the clear choice of genre for her battle theme. Yet despite how much it fits in hindsight, I never saw this coming from Legend ZA. It felt surreal, arguably out of place with the rest of the game, and yet I know it shouldn't, since it fuses the jazziness of Lumio City's theme with the bombast of the Mega Evolution battle theme. Note, I am not trying to say that the Mega Evolution battle theme is good, just that it had a loud electronic style that it was trying to hit. There is one moment in the song where the acoustic guitar is strummed exactly once in the measure, which gives the sort of vibe you'd get from an old Western movie where a showdown is about to take place. Pokemon Legends ZA certainly tried new things, not only with its battles, but with its music. And while the success rate of those attempts is debatable, I think a lot of people would agree that this song is a win for them. Last year, the soundtrack to Yars Rising inspired me to actually play the full game to hear it in context. If any song was going to get me to play Hollow Knight Silksong, it would have been this one. But as it stands, it's my favorite track from a game I did not play. I did not expect a symphonic tour de force when I listened to the soundtrack for research, but BioWater is exactly that. The Hollow Knight soundtracks have always been led by string instruments, but BioWater builds from a simple harp and violin combination to include a full ensemble. The vocal tone is similar to Agniratha from Xenoblade Chronicles, adding an extra dose of melancholy. Having not played the game, I don't know the full story for myself, but this track seems like it would be perfectly suited to underscore a fallen civilization, a place that was once great, almost utopian, until a tragedy befell them. This piece was quick to enchant me with its harmonies. If you enjoyed this track as much as I do, I might recommend the soundtrack to Haunty, which often had a similar atmosphere and made a few tracks in my best of 2024 list. When your studio is making the latest in an established IP, sometimes the assignment is simple. Take something that worked in the past and make it work again. I can confidently say that Koei Tecmo understood the assignment with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and passed with flying colors. Likewise, Sergio De Padro knew which song from the classic Ninja Gaiden era needed to make it into Ragebound. All we needed was this song put to rock and roll instrumentation in the typical Koei Tecmo fashion. It's like a version I'd expect to hear from a hypothetical Ninja Gaiden Warriors game. The Ragebound version of the song does fill out the loop with some additional parts, including additional riffs and a small section where the guitar takes a break so that it can come back and we feel the energy spike all over again. It's a song that will pump you up as soon as you hear it coming. And it's nice to be able to put this classic in a ranking like this, since I only started doing these in 2023, and the original Ninja Gaiden is... well, let's just say it's older than that. Inside of the Wanderstop Tea Shop, there is a radio. So as you keep up with shop maintenance, you have a few choices for soundtracks. And through this radio, I discovered that not only can C418 deliver ambient music, but when they want to, they can make a certifiable bop. Sure, Scratch Post Trial has a long build, but around halfway through the song, some brighter synth chords get arpeggiated, the bass leaves its low-pass filter, and a new 6-note ostinato is added. Once all the parts are in play, I can absolutely see this song playing in the club. But But while the ending may steal the show, I do truly love all parts of this song. During the build, we hear some wooden percussion that sounds like it could be produced by the titular scratching post. The bass pulses on the final offbeat of each measure. And of course, there's the part in the middle where all the synths pull back to make room for my favorite piano. It gives the song an emotional core along with its visceral groove. If a real-world tea shop wants to start playing this music, they have my immediate business. C418 soundtrack to Wanderstop didn't crack my top 3 soundtracks of the year just by having some optional bops in the in-game radio. I was also captivated by the songs that play during moments of the game's story. And of those, I enjoyed this piece, titled Pumpkin Part 2, the most. Each of the songs in Wanderstop have multiple sections that play in different parts of the chapters, so I did have to choose between each of these parts, and some of them get as high as Part 7. With this particular song, the quick piano notes and the ticking clock sounds make me feel like there's so much to do with so little time, like I need to rush around. Meanwhile, the string ensemble represents the tailwind of emotions, as, in order to get where you're going, there are parts of yourself that you have to leave behind. These parts linger for a bit, and they try to reach out to you, but you keep on moving. In the final section of the song, both sides grow louder. And of course, one of the key elements that solidified this song's top 10 placement is the use of the harp. The falling notes heard before the strings come in is the song's equivalent to a beat drop in an EDM song. But this moment with the harp is iterated upon and echoed as the song comes to its climax. The tempo slows, and soon we are left with little but the ticking time that remains. For the first time on one of my lists, we've got a hat trick from the same game. And if Scratch Post Trial was Wanderstop's best example of upbeat music, and Pumpkin was its best example of emotional music, I think Radiant Grass Remix stands right in the middle as the best blend of both. The song really plays with silence, featuring brief moments where the percussion is withheld, despite the fact you'd expect it to be heard. The silences are brief, so where your mind might normally fill in the rhythmic pattern, it ends up creating dissonance. It's almost as if the song is anxious and has to mellow out before it gets into the groove. It's a pretty chill lo-fi experience from there, though some choices in sound effects are quite distinct. One sounds like a cross between a rubber band and a rubber duck. Sometime after around 4 minutes, we also start to hear dial tone. The game and its music might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I ended up connecting with it, so it was a pleasure to add these songs to my list. The song that plays during the final leg of Mario Kart World Special Cup is exactly the same tone as the reaction a player will have upon racing on Rainbow Road for the first time. On the one hand, they'll be in awe at the visual splendor, but on the other hand, they'll be pursuing victory against their toughest opponents yet. The song goes through several iterations to match the state of the track. For example, in the first phase, the focus is on the string ensemble, giving it a sense of opulence. But in the second section, upon entering the star stream, the focus shifts to a music box and harp. It's more gentle and atmospheric. Phase 3 sees us entering an electronic area, where the music enters a state closer to that of Electrodrome from Mario Kart 8. In the final stretch, we revisit the string ensemble, but the best part of this song is how it works to make you feel the rush of those final few moments. As the race draws to a close and you're likely fighting back and forth with other players for your position. The singular decision to have all the strings and drums play short notes in a rising crescendo on the beat makes this one of the most heart-pumping closers to a Mario Kart game that there's ever been. For once, a Rainbow Road can not only take the player across the color spectrum, but the full emotional spectrum as well. And that made it my favorite song in Mario Kart World. You will never realize how important the introductory notes are in this song until you're past spoiler territory within the game. In truth, I won't be able to give this song as much praise as I would like, because I wouldn't dare spoil that for anyone who might play the game after this. On that note, don't read the comments on the official upload if you want to avoid those spoilers. Anyway, it's traditional for me to use this descriptor on each year-end list. So at this point, it's time to sum up this choice in 2 words. The jazz. To sum it up in more than 2 words, the saxophone in this piece is immaculate. The breath control it must take to hit each and every one of these rapid notes with just the right amount of emphasis on certain ones. The notes in each measure flutter down like a leaf gently swaying in the breeze. The melody keeps the rhythm just as much as it stands out on its own. And like I said before, the jazz. This entry on the list goes out to everyone who stopped playing to listen to this song as soon as it came on, and who had to resume gameplay in silence because of a glitch in an early version of the game. I will admit there are other Claire obscure songs that the Keighley Awards could have used to accompany this game's myriad wins, but I would be lying if I said that Alicia wasn't one of the best songs on the soundtrack. As I'm typing this section of the script, I'm having a hard time not just stopping to listen to it. In fact, even as I'm reading the script right now, Okay, jokes aside, I really do have a hard time articulating music that speaks for itself. But for starters, this is a standout vocal performance in a game full of them. A quick look at Elise Duport-Pessier's biography will tell you that not only does she have a background in opera, but that she and Lorian founded the studio that composed the music for the game. It actually makes too much sense in hindsight. Of course the singer would have had a direct hand in making sure that what she's singing would fit with the rest of the song. She helped with the Gestrel Merchant's battle theme from earlier on this list as another example. But the point is, she is a clear expert in her craft. Articulate, controlled, projected. And for the composition itself, it follows a chord progression that I personally find fun to play along with. The accompaniment is minimal, just enough not to overpower the vocals. And the whole song slows down for its final moments, falling to sleep just as the intended audience would, with the lullaby that this was meant to be. As you listen to this track along with me, I want you to bear in mind that some of the people behind this track had past experience with the soundtrack for Mario Kart 8. So if it sounds like there are pieces of that game's OST in here, that's likely why. With the default soundtrack settings, there is only one level in which you'll experience this masterpiece during the main Once Upon a Katamari campaign. And I found it to be one of the easier levels, so you may not even have to backtrack to it all that much. But in my due diligence of researching this list, I heard that slap bass in the opening and knew that this would be something special. Whenever the drums get going, they just won't stop. It contributes to the frenetic pace that the Katamari series is known for in its levels. And each instrument has its own turn to go off the rails. For being a song that plays in an ice level, it really has no chill. While the saxophone kicks things off, later we get to the manic solos from the bass and the guitar. My favorite part of the song is when the saxophone hits its high notes at the end of the chorus, and the guitar answers back with its solos. I need to give it some time and thought, but I could see myself going to bat for this track as the new all-time best in Katamari history, even though there isn't a hint of the signature vocals from songs like Katamari Damacy. This song makes you feel the cosmos with its sheer unbridled energy and its jubilant melody. And now it is my new dream that instead of the multiplayer mode that we got in Once Upon a Katamari, that the studio might shift its attention toward a Katamari racing spin-off. Because if it meant more songs like this one, it might be more good than we mere humans deserve. I thought Coral Crown would be a shoo-in for this list. It made me feel so good, despite the large number of times that I would lose to Skilla and the Sirens before finally getting the hang of the game. But then I got to the run where I heard their follow-up single. I Am Gonna Claw Out Your Eyes Then Drown You to Death is not only a song with an impeccable title, but also the vocal chops to back it up. I've praised the vocalist behind Clair Obscure Expedition 33 already, but not every song calls for an operatic voice. This punk rock anthem required someone with more bite and sass. There are so many individual moments I could point to where Erin Yvette blows the line delivery out of the water. But one of the two I'll focus on here is the word garbage. She really lets that word sink in, makes you stew in it. And the low tone in which she sings it complements the fact that Skilla feels like she's stooping down to your low level. The most genius part of the song, though, is the bridge. Up until that point, Skilla is throwing basic insults at you. Your hair, your clothes, all petty appearance things. Though if you have one of Arachne's outfits on, the slight against your clothes gets a little more personal. But no, by the time we reach the bridge, things have escalated. You've been in the battle long enough and made Skilla struggle enough that the grudge grows. Instead of simply wanting to claw out your eyes then drown you to death, she gets greedier and starts listing off all the ways she'll punish you. Some of these lines feature internal rhyme or alliteration, but I truly respect how manic Yvette delivers these lines as she goes along. Music reviewer Todd in the Shadows likes to pick out the best 2 seconds of the year in his pop reviews, and while I haven't done that before, the easy choice for video game music in 2025 is the line "smacked by a knucklehead." It is so vicious and maniacal. After that, the song just degrades into drown. A return to her base level urges as she seeks to just finish the job. Sorry, Taylor Swift fans, but this song is how you write a bridge, and this song is how you do a "You're Just Jealous of Me" anthem. The only life of a showgirl I needed to see this year was Skilla's, and I got to see that life end over and over again.
I heard it all again, the shimmer in your eyes, the pictures intertwine and mirror into mine. I never thought
A lone guitar echoes out, the droning sounds of shock and sorrow, until something snaps, and a pitch shift seamlessly transitions through the sound of feedback. I've heard this all before. To get so close to someone that where you end and they begin is almost indistinguishable. Thoughts begin to race as rapidly as the pattering rain against the window. The melding of your identity with someone else's is a toxic mindset. Those racing thoughts aren't excited or optimistic. They're relentless reminders of who you want to be. They come bashing like crash cymbals, screeching like guitars, and whining like synths. And quiet. Collect yourself now. Take a moment to breathe. You are a part of my life. Not my whole life. One part that can't be forgotten so easily. It was those words that drew me to the Unbeatable trailers in the first place. And I can't get rid of you. Learning more about the context from the narrative, it clicked. I've got personal experiences with the subject. Expectations, hopes, reality, tragedies. Sometimes it's like two voices are speaking two conflicting messages at the same time. There's hope. There's apprehension. Unbeatable is a game where music is illegal and you do crimes. Crimes to lash out against a broken society. Crimes to release the inner turmoil you've got inside, even if it literally comes back to bite you in the ass. Crimes that are not elaborate schemes, we'll play them by ear and see how we feel. No sterilizing the production, no censoring the message, just raw and unfiltered honesty expressed in the lyrics and guitar riffs. Real emotions don't stay concentrated in one place. If you're going to wallow in them for an entire 12-minute song, they're going to bounce around, change rhythm, tempo, tone. One moment it's boiling over in rage and letting a distorted synthesizer build. The next it's just fucking tired from exhaustion. And you get angry and tired all over again. I've tried to fill them in again, always the same experiment. But perhaps by the end of a 3-act epic of a song, you found some peace and hope in the future. The song is titled Bookend. At the end of the book, you close the pages. Two sides press together, and the unread words intermingle for no one to see. The beginning and the end are closer now than they've ever been. Some years, choosing the number one song is an endless struggle. This year, it was the easiest decision I've made. Expectations, hopes, reality, tragedies. Sometimes, it's like two voices are speaking two conflicting messages at the same time. One voice is Victor Borda, in what I consider his best performance to date, where the rage and grit in his voice encapsulates the harsh truth that you tell people you love because you wish to save them from themselves. The other is Elise Dupois-Fessier, who maintains the gentle operatic disposition that I've praised earlier in this list. She aims for people to understand her ideals through empathy, connecting with the emotions behind those expectations, hopes, realities, and tragedies. There are entire other videos dedicated to digging into the meaning behind the lyrics, so I don't want to spend too much time on that aspect here, but I would recommend checking those out, as I find myself appreciating the song even more with the context. Of course, you should wait until after you've beaten Clear Obscure Expedition 33. As any decent 11-minute masterpiece should, the song goes through movements. First, we have what I consider the main chorus of the song, with our singers having at it back and forth. The pounding beat of the drums, matched with the elegant waltz performed by the vocalists and other instruments, is a surreal match. It provides the dynamic I'd expect from both a tough battle and an emotional climax. Then we enter Act 2. The sound fades away, letting us focus in on the rainfall that we heard in the intro. A haunting piano fills the space until the tension starts to build again. Two tones waver back and forth on the violin in a manner I'd expect from a French film score, while our vocalists harmonize once again. After a desperate struggle, the two softly speak to each other, pained by the burden. The violin solo which follows hops around, pulled in two different directions, until one final release starts the chorus again. Sometime later, an acoustic guitar joins the build-up, while low-pass percussion pelts you with tension in double time. On the outside, we have the sparks of passion that led these two to love each other. But the strife that they have brought with each other is just under that romantic surface, waiting to erupt free again. Without the ideal, the truth only hurts. And without the truth, the ideal is never real. The light and shadow intertwine in a war disguised as a ballroom dance. Ponte, Rocte, Ponte, au clair obscur. With one final chance, the only hope that remains is to call out the names of your loved ones and hope that they'll be with you. This war is theirs. This dance is theirs. The ensuing guitar and violin duel is the pinnacle of 2025's best video game song. Some songs are not appreciated in their time. Sometimes it takes a life to love something. But I knew this song was something special right away. Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way to the end here, I can only assume that you at least kind of liked what I was doing, and so hitting that like button would go a great way in making sure that I continue to put stuff out like this. Of course, subscribing to the channel is another way to show your support. In a moment, you'll see the end screen with links to my other countdowns as well as my own piano covers. So, I will end things there and let you get back to it. Thanks again, and have a good one.